Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yuck, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.
Hi, I'm Adam Heath Avitable.
And I'm Sarah.
This is Dating Kinda Sucks, a podcast about dating, sex, and relationships. This week, we'll be talking about stupid dating rules and why you shouldn't follow them. Enjoy the show.
But what you should do is follow us and subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and like this video and show your support on here, because we have 400? We have like 400 subscribers right now, so we're growing.
Yeah, 400 subscribers, and every video gets 12 views, so it's fantastic.
We have a really good conversion rate. Don't get me started.
We're only 100,000 times away from being able to make it worthwhile.
Monetize, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. That's all we need.
But that's not the goal. That's not the goal. But thank you for watching on YouTube.
So, hello, happy April. I can't believe we're here.
You actually know the month now. Now that you're not in
month.
Vermont, you know the day of the week and the month that we're in. And wow.
I don't know the date. I don't know what date it is, but I do know it's Tuesday. So I know it's Tuesday. And I know it's somewhere between the 17th and the 20th, like somewhere in that range, but I don't know the actual.
19th. You're
19th.
close.
Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. So yeah. So yes, we're recording this on Tuesday, April. What'd you say? 19th. 19th.
Oh my God!
I already forgot.
Listen to me.
And I am back in Florida for the first time in a year. And so I have been traveling, came down to Florida, and I'm here, and we'll talk about that for a little bit. But I figured let's talk about you first.
Oh, we're talking about me. Oh, okay.
Because I feel like recently, in the last few episodes, we've been just diving into me first, and then.
Well, that's what's been more interesting, to be completely honest. So yeah.
Well, first I want to congratulate you on finally crossing the threshold of getting 10,000 followers on TikTok.
Yay!
Yeah, you had I know, but it's a milestone, and TikTok thinks it's a milestone because they offer like additional things when you hit 10,000 that you don't have otherwise, and then you had that from the most bizarre, like just random video that's like, it's so crazy, like what works, right? So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I just decided to not give a fuck on TikTok, and then all of a sudden the algorithm was like, "Ooh, let's promote your content to millions of people." So I did a video about an Easter egg hunt that was going on in my apartment complex, and I did just like me reading the email, and that got 100,000 views randomly of just me saying, "Oh, there's an Easter egg hunt, and it covers rent. Like they'll give you rent vouchers," and people were like fucking watching that and loving it, and it was just me talking like I am now. I was like, you know what? The day of the egg hunt, I woke Master of None up. I was like, we're going to hunt for eggs. And he's like, you can start. Just wake me up a little bit later. And so I decided to record the entire egg hunt experience, which was...
Wait.
What?
You also... That was like 8 in the fucking morning on a Sunday, by
I
the
woke
way.
up Saturday morning at 8. Well, I actually woke up at 6 a.m. and was like, the egg hunt, because I just wake up early. I was like, the egg hunt won't start until like 9 o'clock. So I'll just go back to sleep, which I was fucking wrong, but...
Okay, I just want to point that out. You're waking up and saying, "Hey, do you want to go out?" He's like, whatever, I'm going back to bed. It was really early. Like it was for a weekend too, to like be up and wandering around. Yeah.
So I got in my workout clothes and was like, I'll just walk downstairs, see like how many eggs I see. And there's, of course, because it's 8 a.m. on a Saturday, none of the other residents are out and about. And I was like, this shit's a fucking scam. There's no eggs. I don't see any fucking eggs anywhere. This is stupid. So I started just recording that. And then I ran into another guy who was also kind of weirdly looking around her. It was like, my competition. So I thought it was just the two of us, and then we chatted, and just the entire time I just kept filming on the go of, now I'm walking up the stairs and I'm going to look over here and see if there are any eggs. And then I gave up. Probably 4 TikToks in, I gave up, went back to my apartment and just sat on the couch. And then I started seeing the views just fucking pick up randomly. I would post a video and it would get like 300 views in less than 5 minutes, which for my account is a lot. I was at around 6,000 followers before that whole egg hunt thing happened. And then I was like, well, fuck, like people were saying, oh, check here, check there. And I'm like, and at that point I hadn't won anything. So I decided to just keep looking for shit. And then I eventually found an egg that had the rent credit in it. So I did get $50 off next month's rent, which is cool. But it turned into like this 22-part series, which is excessive. I completely understand. But I didn't film it. I didn't film it for the intention of it to fucking blow up. I was just having so much fun with it. And I would like run and check a place and literally record myself while I was doing it. And it was just a lot. It was just a lot of fun. And I was enjoying the comments. And after it was all said and done, there were people messaging me going, "You really kept me entertained all Saturday morning. Thanks for this. This is so fun." Da, da, da. Like I almost didn't want it to end because I was enjoying just like the interaction and people being so fucking invested. And then I went to the movies, and then I was off my phone for a couple hours. I get out of the movies and shit's at like, I would say one of the videos was at 500,000 already, and all of the other videos were at 30K. And I was like, holy fuck, like of like all 20 videos at least had 20 to 30,000 views, and then one was really blowing up. I was like, oh my god. And then I was at 8,000 followers, so I had jumped 2,000 followers in the span of maybe 2 hours. It was just fucking crazy. And now I'm at like 12,000, which is fine. Like
no, you're at 12,500 last time I checked, and so that means that you doubled your number of followers over basically since Saturday morning, like, so, which is pretty incredible. That's amazing. How that can happen.
Just being me.
Yeah.
Just being a fucking asshole on camera, being like, "Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm checking here." Like I was in the dumpster looking for fucking eggs. Like just doing, but like I was actually seriously looking for the eggs because there were 2 other ones out there, and I had nothing better to do on my Saturday. And Master of None just stayed in bed and slept the whole time. He did end up helping me at the end, but at that point he was like, "I can't find it anymore. You should just call it a day." And I was like, okay, I found one, but yeah.
Well, it is funny because there was one video where you're walking down the stairs, and behind you on the stairs, I swear, like I saw one on the stairs, and there's that Leonardo DiCaprio gif of him. I think it's from like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he's like pointing at the screen or whatever. Like, have you seen that? Do you know that gif that people share all the time? He's just, or it's a meme where he's always just like, he's yeah. That's what that was me. Like I was like, there's one. Like I'm like pointing at the fucking like I'm like, behind you, turn around. And then people were saying that in your comments, and there wasn't one apparently, but
everybody was saying that.
I swear I saw it.
And of course, Master of None, while we were doing it, he's like, if you were smart about it and you wanted to keep it going, you should have hid eggs around the complex to just fuck with people and then just record. And you had also said, just walk past eggs and have people be like, you just fucking missed one or whatever. But I was doing it so organically. This was not planned. I was just fucking around. Yeah.
No, it would have been funny, but yeah, I'm glad that you just did it organically. I think that was better anyways. But it would have been hilarious if you were like standing somewhere like, I can't believe I can't find the eggs, and like have one be literally over your shoulder, like, and it would just, and then you turn the other way and walk away, just like people would have gone.
That would be so obvious, though. It would be so obvious.
Oh man, but yeah, no, that's pretty crazy. So that's that was your Easter, was just getting
a $50 rent credit and making TikToks, pretty much. Yeah.
Anything else going on with you guys?
Oh, actually, as of today, Master of None finally got a fucking start date for his job after a million weeks. So he knows he's going to start in May.
That's fantastic.
But like he was telling me today, yeah, I applied for the job in January, interviewed February, got the job end of March, starting mid-May. Like, what the fuck?
That is absolutely ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. But he's so, like, today he is so happy and so relieved that he finally has a start date. And I'm going to Florida. I'll actually be in Florida the same time you'll be in Florida. I'm going down for my dad's birthday in a couple of weeks, and I think he's going to come down now.
Oh, he is?
He's like, well, it's right before I start my job, and why not? It'll be like a little vacation before I start. So
that's nice.
Come down. Yeah.
Are you guys going to fly or drive?
I already bought my flight because I found less than $100 round trip flight through Frontier Airlines. Hey,
Frontier's not bad though, but at least it's not Spirit, So
yeah, I won't do Spirit. I've done Spirit once, and I was like, never again. But Frontier's fine as long as I pack a little backpack. But he suggested, he was like, how bad's the drive? And I said, I drove that last summer, and I said never again. And I'm not doing it again, so I'm flying, and I'm not driving 10.5 hours down to Orlando. Yeah, it always ends up being longer because you hit some kind of fucking traffic in Atlanta and then going into Florida. And no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. So he's just gonna have to find his own plane ticket.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he just decided this today because now that he heard back. But I'm not driving. He can drive the whole way if he wants, and I can take my ass there. I'm not fucking driving.
Well, then you won't have to pay for a rental car if he does that.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, whatever. I think that's also another reason why he wanted to drive, but he realized I'm going to be down there for a week. And he was like, I don't know about that. That's a long time to be with your family. I'm like, oh, just like how it was when we went to Maine. Interesting, very interesting, but oh well.
Yeah.
Something else fun that's happened in the past few days with Master of None and I.
What's that?
We I know you know it. Well, you haven't seen the video, but we filmed some porn. But not the kind that you're thinking, guys. It's just me giving him a foot job.
So it's just Master Nun's dick in your feet, basically.
Yeah, and then after, and I was just fucking around because he just whipped his dick out like he does in our apartment, and I was just like putting my feet on them, and then he was like, "Pull out your phone and record this," and I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And then he was like, "You should post that on OnlyFans," and I'm like, "Yeah, you want me to post it?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "That's fine. I don't care if people see my dick." Oh, okay, cool.
So is it gonna be on your OnlyFans?
I haven't posted it yet, and he's asked a couple times now.
He wants it on there now.
I
Listen to that. He's excited. He wants to see how many how many people like it or whatever. Basically,
Well, I don't have that many people on my OnlyFans anyways. I might have, I mean, I've lost a lot of subscribers, but I might have like 5 or 6 subscribers now.
Oh, okay.
So, and if I put a paywall up, maybe 2 people will see it because not all 6 are going to purchase it. And I don't know if I've never done content like that before. And that's not really something I deleted the video and then it's sitting in my deleted folder, but he's like, you can't delete that. And I'm like, well, I'll just film a fucking another one if I really want. Whatever. It was a 20-second clip, but
That's just so funny. Like I just think about the Sarah from 2017.
oh, I know.
And thinking about that Sarah filming a foot job video for her
It's not my dick. It's
for
not
her
my dick.
OnlyFans. No, but it's still even I feel like you are not the same Sarah from then, like in that way.
Yeah. Well,
That's
it's not on the
fantastic.
internet yet, so it's still
Right.
in my phone somewhere.
Wasn't there
can't post it.
another video that you wish you had recorded that would have been good for for OnlyFans as well? Something about his skills.
Oh my god. So Master of None and I, we joke around a lot, and the more that I ask him, does he care if I film him? The more he says, no, I really don't care. I'm not going to repeat a joke. I'm not going to redo something that I did organically. You just need to be recording me basically 24/7. And so we were fucking around. I just bought groceries and I bought a really thick cucumber. And he had noticed, I know you already know where this is going. He had noticed how thick it was because I was about to just start cutting it. I was going to start washing. He's like, oh my God, that cucumber is so thick. And I just, put it in front of my crotch like it was my dick. I'm like, yeah, you like that thick dick, don't you? And then he got down on his knees and decided to suck the cucumber. And then he was like, wait, how much can I deep throat this? So then we were competing to see who could deep throat the cucumber the most, and he fucking won.
Wow, that's
But it
impressive.
was so girthy that he was like, oh, how can I do this more than you? I'm like, I don't know, I can't handle the girth like that, But
Right,
he was like,
right.
I could do it better than you, and you suck dick a lot. Okay.
This is I feel like that's a fantastic thing, and that's a healthy relationship here because there's a man without toxic masculinity, and like
Yeah.
that's fantastic and
That's just
hilarious.
always us, though. That's
Yeah.
always us just fucking around, doing and saying dumb shit. So,
Right.
but then I wish I recorded it because it was so fucking funny. But no, didn't get
Yeah,
that.
I guess
on
you just have to
camera.
set up cameras all around your house, just record constantly, and then decide what to add to the internet.
Darn. Yeah. Better luck next time.
Just the reality show of Sarah and Master of None.
Yeah, but that's about it on my side of the world, and yeah.
So you're gonna be in Florida in May in like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Right.
2 weeks.
Well, that's good. Yeah,
We'll
we'll
hang.
also yeah, we'll have to figure out something. And we'll talk about what I'm doing. You want to take a quick break, and then we'll
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
we'll get
Yeah.
back to my life.
All right, Adam. Let's get back to your life. You're in Florida now. Give us the updates.
Well,
Sucked,
so
fucked. What have you done?
Fucked.
I don't know.
Mostly ducking people. That's mostly
Suck,
what
fuck, and duck.
ducked.
Okay.
Yeah. Last time we spoke, I was in Knoxville. I believe we recorded when I was in Knoxville. I
We
think
did,
so.
but that wasn't just the two of us. That was with Kelsey, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was there for a week, so I couldn't remember if we must record right before I left. But yeah, so I was in Knoxville for a week. I stopped in Knoxville for a week because I had a TikToker creator that I had made friends with, and then we filmed a couple TikToks that were. She does a lot of content that's joking about pegging dads and eating ass. It's like half of her content, and she makes jokes about that. Yeah. And
What's her follower count like? What kind
she's
of?
she's actually almost about the same as I am. She's about 110,000.
But like I'm saying,
Oh.
like, does she have trash men or?
No,
what's
actually,
her-
I feel like she has a lot of really kind of men that are really kind of down for stuff. Like every now and then she'll have a man who'll be like, "Well, I was with you till you said that stuff or whatever," and then she'll do like a response to it. She'll be like, "Baby, you wouldn't even know what would happen. I would walk in that door and you'd be, grabbing your ankles and then calling for your dad, and she would say stuff like that, and just like destroy him verbally. It's so funny." So we recorded a couple TikToks that really confused people because like there was one where I was doing my typical giving advice and she just slid into the picture and I was like, "Do you have any advice?" And she was like, "Yeah, if you find a woman who likes to eat ass and peg dads, then put a ring on it." And then she covered my mouth and said, "And this is bacon," and it was a very very funny. So that was Knoxville, and then I drove down and stopped somewhere in the middle of fucking nowhere between Knoxville and Florida because I'd only drive more than 4 or 5 hours, and then I was at my sister's for a weekend in Jacksonville, which was very nice. I got to sit in a hot tub. They have a nice, beautiful hot tub out in their house, attached to their house that I sat in for a while, and then the pool all day on Saturday. That's when while you were blowing up on TikTok, my phone wasn't even like I didn't even have my phone with me. Like I was like actually put it away. I was just like enjoying the pool, and then I get my phone, I see all your shit going, like all your stuff going crazy. So that was pretty funny. But
you actually knew that it was a weekend too when you were hanging at your sister's house because Monday or Sunday night you were like, "Oh my God, Monday's tomorrow." I'm like, "Wait, he knows the day of the week now." Wow.
Well, right, because I'm coming down to Florida, and so now I'm here and I'm trying to like make plans with people, and I'm like, what are you doing Monday? And I was like, I don't know, what's a Monday? So I have to actually figure out what day is what. But I've been making plans, and it's funny. I got here Sunday night and went to my storage unit, put some stuff in there that I don't need until I leave Florida. I'll be here for about a month, maybe 6 weeks, and then I was like, well, I'm hungry. I can't get into my hotel yet, so I went to Ale House, and so that's the first person I saw.
The Ale House.
Yes, the Ale House, the Ultimate Ale House. So like, instead of going to see anybody when I first get back into Florida, I go to Ale House. I just thought that was kind of funny, and I enjoyed some lunch, and then went to the hotel. But then they wanted to go out Sunday night. So Sunday night I went out to Savoy, which is a gay bar in Orlando, where the person I'm going to be staying with when I leave the hotel, her boyfriend's the bartender there. So we went there, and there were so many people, and I was just walked in, and I was like, I haven't seen this many people in one spot in like a long time, and it's overwhelming. So I was there for a couple hours, and then went back to Ale House that night because I wanted to see one of the bartenders there, and then made it home. And then yesterday went out for lunch with somebody, and then went out for like, it's been exhausting. So today was a me day. I didn't want to see a fucking person. So
it was you not leaving the hotel day.
I have not left the hotel. I have not, yes. And that's what I needed. I needed to kind of recoup a little bit because it is a busy week. I've got lots of people to see and hang out with. So I think we talked about the person I went out with before I left Orlando. There was someone that I talked about that we had a pool date. And we ended up making out in the pool.
So long ago.
I was a long time ago. And then she was going to Colombia for a month. And then we had plans to go out when she got back. She gets back and she's kind of distant. And it turns out she just started randomly dating someone when she gets back. And then, but we just kind of maintain, we're kind of friendly. And then like a year later, maybe she ends up breaking up with him. And so she and I go out downtown, and then we're just like making out all over downtown, and we're having a good time. But then she gets too drunk, and I have to drive her car to drive her back to my place because she can't drive. And it's this like little car that's smaller than yours, like this little tiny, I don't even know what it is, but like it's like a little Kia shoe, I think is what it's called.
Shut the fuck up.
It's a Kia roller skate. But like I have the seat pushed back as far as it'll possibly go, and the steering wheel up as possible, and my knees are up to my chin, and I'm trying to like shift her car and drive.
Chill, you're a big guy though. It's not like she's driving an SUV.
Yeah,
Any
I know,
other car outside
still,
of an SUV is going to be small to you.
But not in that way. That was so small that like my knees were literally up against, like it was terrible. And then as we're driving to my place, and she's like sticking her head out the window trying not to puke, she like is all teary. She texts her ex-boyfriend. to come get her. And so we get to my house. She pukes in the driveway, and then I get her some water. We wait there for an hour for him to show up at like 4 a.m, and then he comes and gets her.
And this, just to clarify, this was over a year ago.
Yes,
this was a year ago.
Yeah.
This was not this past couple of days.
This is
Making it
So,
clear.
and I'm just trying to explain who this is, and then after that happened, they got back together because he came and got her and stuff like that. So I'm so happy I could put the two of them back together. And
I'm salty.
yeah, well, because I don't really think he's a good person for her, but it's not my
Full
my place.
circle. Where are we going with this story? So you're meeting up with her?
So then
or what?
yeah, we went out to lunch yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, full circle. That's where the story's going. Is she and I went out
I
to
wasn't
lunch.
sure.
Went out to lunch, had a couple drinks, and just chilled and talked about her life choices a little bit. But it was nice. It was kind of nice, and then reflected on some of the bizarre cycles our life has taken. So that was it. Nothing went beyond that. It could have.
Okay.
Because I was like, hey, did you bring your bathing suit? Maybe we should go hang out in the pool again.
She goes, hell no, we're not doing that. Well, I was going to say what pool, but I guess your hotel has
Yeah.
it.
And she was like, well, I did bring my bathing suit, but, I was like, I don't know, maybe that's not a good idea to get back involved with that again.
No.
So
This is why you shouldn't have gone to Florida in the first place. You should have just kept driving somewhere else.
I'll tell you, it is actually very nice to be here. It makes me realize that I don't like Florida, but I really do like all the people that I miss. And so it felt very welcoming, like just getting into town. And like I knew where to go. I wasn't even thinking about where like find a place to go. Like I was like, oh, I can go here and then go there. And then, like I knew everywhere I needed to go. And that
Which
was
is
nice.
also depressing at the same time of, everything's still the fucking same.
Except there's now an express lane on I-4, which I had no idea about, and that was fucking amazing. Like I actually really appreciated that. But yeah, so now I'm just I'm gonna be here for a bit, and then we're gonna start traveling. I wanna start hitting all the states that I have never been, like all the states I haven't been in. So that's next for me is like I'm gonna go. I've been in Texas, but I want to stop in certain parts. But I've like never been to Oklahoma, so I'm gonna go through Texas up to Tulsa, and then kind of head up to there to Utah, and then go over to the Pacific Northwest, which I've never been there as well. So I want to try to hit all 48 contiguous states, at least to driven through them at some point.
So you've been to almost every state, and that's your goal.
Yeah, I've been through I think everything but maybe 4 states contiguous. So like 44 states I've at least driven through or stopped in some capacity.
Okay. So of the states, let's start a challenge.
A challenge?
Let's start a challenge. Of those states that you've driven through, let's just say this bluntly. Have you masturbated in all the states that you've been to? Or had sex in? Or we could either do sex or masturbated.
Right, because a lot of them are going to be masturbation. That's for sure. That's for sure. There will be a few that won't be, but that's a good question because like on this road, obviously the last year, everywhere I've stopped, if I've stopped there's been masturbation. It's at some point. So
that's if you have a hotel. So if you have a hotel room there, you're masturbating there is pretty much the standard.
Yes, because when I was in Ohio and Cincinnati, I stayed at a friend's. I was on her couch, so there really was no space to masturbate there, and I don't think I did.
You need your own room, like in Memphis at your friend's place.
Yes, right.
I can't forget the Memphis.
At least
story,
my own little building with a cup. That's all I needed.
Right. Yeah, with a cup.
Yeah, like when I was at my sister's place in Jacksonville, there was no masturbation because the bedroom was separate from where the bathroom was, and it went through the house to get to the bathroom. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna sleep. I'm not gonna."
Well, you've already masturbated in Florida, so you didn't need to
multiple.
check that.
Yeah, I've masturbated.
Yeah.
Yes, There's I've filled a entire swimming pool, like basically.
Fuck you.
If we had to calculate probably the quantity of masturbation that's happened in the state of Florida, but yes. And I would say so. There are some states that I haven't even though I've driven through Texas. The only time I drove through Texas was when I was with Amy, and we were moving from Los Angeles to Orlando. So we drove through Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and
You didn't
Louisiana.
have sex in those states. You just kept
We
driving.
probably didn't because like it was just kind of an like we'd stop and be exhausted and basically go to sleep and they like it was really just let's get to Florida and as quickly as possible. So I don't even think we had sex there at all. So when I go to Texas, I'm gonna have to make up for that, obviously.
Okay, so we got Texas and the Sun Belt. So we got what? Texas, New Mexico, Arizona.
And then let's see. I think Mississippi, Alabama. I've never really stopped in those.
No,
those
Alabama. I didn't realize you have.
I was thinking about it. I
Alabama?
might have had a gig there at one point where I stayed the night, but I don't remember. But I don't think so. So I think Alabama and Mississippi are still no. And yeah, there's been no jizz zones yet.
You lived in California, so that had to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, California. And then
Going north from California, you haven't been.
I haven't been to the Pacific Northwest, so none Washington, Oregon. I didn't really hit North Dakota when I was driving, so I didn't do that.
Okay.
I was, all of the other Utah, absolutely, Wyoming, South Dakota, Montana, all of those places, Idaho. I was there. Yeah, absolutely. Omaha. I was in Omaha and Council Bluffs, so that was like Nebraska and Iowa at the same time.
So you doubled down on that one,
basically.
Okay.
Colorado, of course. Little Rock. I visited you in Little Rock for a couple days. Yeah, well, I mean,
definitely Tennessee because of the Memphis story.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that, but yeah, every time I was anytime I've been in Knoxville, of course, and in Nashville. I mean, there's I've hit all the major cities in Tennessee. Now that we think about it.
So you've done Ohio or Indiana and like north of Tennessee?
Yeah, Ohio because I've been through Ohio before for shows, and then Indiana. No, somehow I missed Indiana because St. Louis. I was in law school in St. Louis, so I was in Missouri there. Chicago, yes, I went to Blog Her for a conference when I was having an affair, and we did nothing but fuck for like every single constantly. So that was and then I had shows in Minneapolis and in Wisconsin. So Minnesota and Wisconsin, I had shows there, so I was staying the night for multiple times, and I had even had a date that I hooked up with a couple times there too as well. So
okay, so then let's move to the East Coast. Where in the East Coast? You were living in Vermont, so Vermont happened.
Vermont,
Maine
absolutely.
happened. You're
Maine,
from Boston,
Massachusetts, of course. New York, absolutely. Several different places, and then
Pennsylvania,
New Hampshire, yeah, Pennsylvania, 100%. I had someone I used to date that I would fly up and visit her in Pittsburgh, anyways. But even beyond that, Delaware, I think I've skipped Delaware somehow.
I've never been there. I don't know what's in Delaware. Not to shit on Delaware,
I've just never. Rhode Island, I did a perform. Actually, my cousin, whose house I was staying in Vermont, I officiated her wedding in Rhode Island, and that absolutely, I got jerked off there because I went to a strip club and then we went back in the I got in the private room, with one of the dancers.
So where else? You said
DC. I've never happened in DC. Because I've never really stayed.
We're
in
not
DC.
counting.
It's not a state, so we're not going to count it. Okay.
What about Virginia or West Virginia?
I went to college in Virginia, so the famous cup story, the original cup story, was in Virginia. And that cup filled so much that it probably should have spilled over into West Virginia, but it did not. But I went
foul.
I went to school, on the western side of Virginia, but I don't think I've ever really stayed in Western Virginia. So West Virginia is still up there, and I think that's it because definitely
Virginia.
Both Carolinas, absolutely, Georgia, absolutely, yeah. I mean, all those places. So I would say that
no, you've never been to Hawaii or Alaska.
So yeah, those don't count yet. So those are on my list. So there's probably about maybe I would say 13 or 14 states that if we're looking at all the states that I still have to add to my list. So
all right, we'll get her done.
Coming soon to a state near you. I can't believe, by the way, that we just went through every state in the country.
We really were like, let's take 5 minutes.
Let's
deep
just
dive on
talk
this.
about all the states that he's jerked off in.
I wouldn't even get fucking close. I wouldn't know.
And you've traveled a lot more than I have. Except maybe not now, but before, I would say a year ago, you would have traveled a lot more than I have.
I travel a lot. I just haven't done a lot through the U.S. in a minute.
Yeah, and you don't don't get bored and decide you're going to jerk off. Like, it's probably not your thing, that you do at night. Like, oh, you know what? I'm bored.
I don't even think I really masturbated a lot when I was in Arkansas for 6 weeks because I had Master of None come. No, that's not true. I did bring my vibrators with me, so maybe I probably did.
Yeah,
but like I visited my brother in St. Louis multiple times, but I don't think I've ever masturbated in the state of Missouri. I don't. Yeah, I can't count that one. Or like my whole road trip through South Dakota. I don't think
Yeah.
I masturbated. Like you do it, and I don't.
When I used to
That's
take
what I
road,
think is funny.
yeah, that's true. When I used to take road trips too, especially if I take long road trips, I sometimes get like tired, and so I would jerk off as I drove just to basically feel like
Stay awake.
stay awake
That's your
essentially.
coffee.
But I would avoid coming, and then I remember one time I did accidentally come, like it came out of nowhere. It surprised me. Yeah, it was just it was a surprise ejaculation, and I was trying to clean up and drive, and it was so awful because my pants were like literally down around my ankles, and
Why
so
couldn't you just kind of pull your dick out and around of your
I
pants
probably could
instead
have,
of?
but it just felt better, and like the windows down, it was a nice breeze, and like it just felt
I mean,
good.
I understand the breeze thing and it being a certain temperature because that's my thing. Is just
Right.
if it's fall, I'm fucking type of thing. But
Yeah.
there's no need to have your pants around your ankles when you're driving and
I know.
masturbating. You could have just pulled it up and
The worst part is
around.
it was a
Yeah.
manual, it was a stick shift. And so the problem was that I was trying to still hold on to my dick to keep it from just coming everywhere. But then I had to downshift at some point to get off the interstate. So then when I coded downshift, I just explode all over my hands, and it's all over my shirt and the steering wheel and my pants and everything. And so I'm trying to downshift, but like literally, like just imagine like a line of cum just from my crotch to
Oh.
the stick shift. Oh, it was
Where were you driving to? And did
college.
you have to? Oh, I was gonna say, did you have to see anyone right after you got out of the car? 'Cause
When
that's terrifying.
Yeah, no, when I pulled up to like where the parking lot was at school, I basically was like had to like really adjust myself and really try to clean like as much off as possible. Luckily, I think I was wearing just like jeans and so like it wasn't anything like it wasn't necessarily immediately obvious, and I just ran inside and changed clothes. But
I cannot with
but
your
like I
life.
literally had
No.
cum covering my like chest and crotch and legs and hand and arm. Like it was just
So what have we learned from that experience?
it was a sticky situation.
You didn't answer my question.
I didn't learn anything. Don't drive a stick shift. I haven't learned a fucking.
If you're gonna masturbate while driving, let it not be a stick shift. That's all you've learned.
That's the only lesson I can think of out of that.
I think the pants around the ankles thing is also another good lesson, and
that would be
extra
true.
set of clothes maybe if you really want to do that.
Travel with wet wipes, maybe the thing to do. I don't know.
A cup. And a cup.
And a cup. Yeah, a cup would have been helpful if I could have reached a cup, but trying to grip and
How
steer.
the fuck would you have been
Just
driving?
imagine, like,
I don't want to talk about this.
So
anymore.
I know
Damn
we're
it.
just imagine. At one point, I literally was trying to steer with my left knee while holding my dick to avoid it with my right hand. So then my left hand's free but completely useless because I can't really reach all the way around to pick anything up. And if I go to switch hands, then it's already over anyway. So then eventually I'm just like, fuck, I just got to switch hands. I can't really switch hands. I might as well just let go. And then that's when it was all over. I was just like, I basically gave up and realized that I was going to come everywhere.
How did you concentrate on driving? Because that's my issue with any type of roadhead situation or anything like that. How the fuck do you not crash your car?
I don't even remember. Like what, but like yeah, there was no problem there. I was going 90 too. Like I was not going slow. I was just it was probably 5 a.m. because I usually basically would get up at like.
Be a lot. All this dumb shit you've done.
Oh, I know.
You should have been in some serious acts. I mean, thank God you weren't, right? But
can you imagine
shit that like is not safe at all?
An accident,
and
they find me, and I'm just sitting with my pants down with cum everywhere. They're like, "What kind of accident was this? Like, what happened here?" Like,
major one, yeah, that's for sure.
Listeners, let me just apologize for the fact that you just listened to us talk about me masturbating for
10 minutes at least.
20 minutes, maybe.
I hope it wasn't 20 minutes. I don't think it was. Maybe. Oh fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, let's go to an actual break. Not talk about cum for a few minutes, and then get back to the topic.
So I was talking to codename the Eccentric today, and was telling her I was preparing for an episode, and she asked what the topic was, and I said, "Oh, just like stupid dating rules and like how you shouldn't bother following them because like they don't actually have any basis in reality." And she was like, "Well, like what?" And I was like, and I was like the third date rule, for example. She goes, "Oh yeah, and like farting." And I was like,
"Farting."
Yeah. That's what I said.
What?
I was like,
don't fart on a date? I mean, is that the rule?
I was like, what? Can you elaborate what you mean by farting? And she goes, Well, just the idea that, you should never fart around anybody
Ever?
and I like, is that like a dating rule or is that just like, and I was like, I mean, I don't do that. It's not something that I do because I don't enjoy that. So why would I do that around somebody? And she's just like, oh, I guess, yeah, okay. Well, I guess that makes sense. I guess it's not really a dating rule. It just immediately popped into my head, just no farting as a rule. Like, and I was like, well, I feel like that's a rule that maybe would be a good thing to stick with, at least on a first date. Like if you sit down and you decide you need to fart on your first date,
Hold it, yeah.
maybe just like maybe a thing, just like if you were gonna burp really loudly on a first date. I don't know, like that's just like basic etiquette. But
Etiquette, yeah, that's not a rule. That's just
it
I
just,
wouldn't being in an office back working. I wouldn't just let one rip in an office. I would try to,
right,
I would hold it. I think before the pandemic, we literally destroyed our insides because we weren't letting it rip throughout the day. Where now it's like, oh, well, whatever. But I mean,
I
I
mean,
feel that on the farting level, but it's not a
like
rule.
there's a difference between being like you want to be your genuine self and also respecting maybe the boundaries of others, and I feel like maybe farting doesn't respect the boundaries of other people sometimes. You're violating some of their boundaries if you're doing that. So I just thought it was hilarious that that's where her brain went to dating rules. That's not what we're talking about, but it was just so weird and bizarre.
We'd recommend you don't fart because
Yes,
of proper
yes,
etiquette,
yes.
not
Just,
because it's a rule,
just
just
yes.
because you
Not
just
because like girls don't fart. Yeah, we know that that's not a thing. We understand that, but just yes, let's just try to stick to actual dating rules that are stupid. I think that's the goal here.
Side note, I try to not fart still in front of Master of None, and then we'll be watching a movie and I'll start laughing and then I'll laugh and fart. And I'm like, God damn it, it's so embarrassing. And he thinks it's funny. But
That's funny.
yeah.
I've never farted in front of somebody in 45
Really?
years. Yeah, and just it's just not a thing because I don't find it entertaining. Like I think it's one of those
I
things
didn't,
that.
it's not like I
Well,
fucking
no, not on
tried
purpose.
to
I'm just
do
saying, like
it.
I had like like I always had guy friends who were like thought it was funny, and
Oh, like the
I've never,
immature.
yeah, and I've never found it entertaining or funny, and it's just one of those things. So I think it's just one of those. I just like it personally. I'm like, no, I mean, I don't care if somebody does by accident. That's not like whatever that happens, and that's happened with people, but it's not something that I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna just be a little more discreet about that. I'll talk for a half hour about masturbating throughout the entire United States,
I
but
was
I'm
just
not gonna. I'm not
gonna
gonna.
say we went from that to
I
this,
know. I
and can
know.
we clean up this fucking episode, please?
I
It's
know.
just
I know.
toilet
Oh my
bowl.
god.
Oh
So
God.
so why? Well, let's talk about why we wanted to talk about bad dating rules. You want to get into
Well,
this?
I just think it's because everyone feels comfortable with rules existing, but at the end of the day, there aren't really rules when it comes to dating. It's a person by person basis and everybody's different. But like to go back to when I was early dating in my 20s and trying to figure out what the fuck to do, I liked having rules because it made dating feel structured and it made me feel safer. But the caveat to having rules was when people didn't fucking follow the rules, it really pissed me off because don't you know that you're not supposed to do this? Don't you know, like, what the fuck? And then slowly over time, you just realize, oh, people don't follow rules because there aren't rules. It's just being a decent human being of how to act on dates or etiquette, like the farting thing. It's not a rule. It's just
Right. Just
you probably shouldn't,
just
I
human
don't know if you
nature.
want to expand on that, but just that's kind of where this whole thing came up is people like dating coaches and fucking piece of shit pickup artists they're heavy on the rule game, and then a lot of people hold on to rules when they date and then get super pissed off when rules are broken when there are really no rules.
Well, and I think that's you say it well. Like people like rules because especially like their dating makes them nervous and they want like a set of rules to follow because then at least they can be like, well, I'm doing this right. Why isn't it working? And then dating coaches and pickup artists take advantage of that by being like, well, here's the top 3 rules you need to have in order to have a successful relationship, or here's a rule in order to make sure a woman gets hooked on you, and things like that. And it's all bullshit. This is why we don't like dating coaches as well, because every time you go on a date with somebody, they're an individual, and so are you. You all have your own different connections and perspectives. That's why, like, we did an episode about, how long until you get into a relationship with someone. That really depends on the quality of the dates you're going on, how much you're talking on the phone, like all of these little factors. So there's no rule for it. It's based on you and the other person, and
Or how long until you say I love you? There's
right.
and I think I really felt not victim, but like I really aligned with these rules to make me feel like I knew what the fuck I was doing. And then I realized, oh, it's the person, not the rule of, oh, if he doesn't say I love you after 3 months, it must not be going well. 3 to 6 months is the perfect time frame to say I love you. If it's not said from there, something's, like that was how I was able to rationalize feelings based on stupid rules that who made them up? Cosmopolitan magazine? I don't know.
Yep, exactly.
Other people just following and just keeping the rules going. I mean, what the fuck?
People with no actual certification or any type of background in it, just deciding this is a rule that you should follow is really what it boils down to a lot of times. And I do think that it's not like you look at anything like writing, for example. There are rules to writing. There are grammar rules. There are structure rules. There are all these things that are rules. And then once you learn the rules, then you can start to ignore them because you know how to use them in the way you need it. But relationships and dating are not like that. There are a set of rules that you should always follow, which is like identifying red flags. Like, identifying red flags, those are rules that you stick to, because that's how you have a healthy relationship, is by when you see a red flag, you don't collect them. You say, oh, one red flag is enough for me, goodbye. That's a rule. But the rest of this is just, it's trying to we want to maybe help people see that you should stop focusing on the rules as much and start focusing on each individual interaction with people.
Agreed. Yeah, that's the main, we haven't even finished the episode yet, but that is the main takeaway of rules don't exist. Just look at the person that you're dating and say, red flags, yes or no? Okay, things are going well. Cool. I'm going to play it all by ear. That's the most successful tactic. If you're wanting to follow something, there's nothing really to follow, but just keep those in mind.
Yeah, and I think we've kind of collected a list of just several rules that we've seen on TikTok from like dating coaches, pickup artists, Cosmo, like places like that. Some of those dating rules, and just gonna maybe deconstruct why it's not worth following them, and why.
Because there's exception, like you said with grammar, there's exceptions to so many rules where some things do sound good, just on paper. I mean that makes sense, but you can't say this is a black and white rule. You know what I mean? Because
absolutely,
that's not reality. So the one I'm thinking of for sure, because I know you disagree on this one, and this is one that I always leaned into following if there was a following for it, was avoid talking about exes on dates.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you always talked about your divorce really early on, just as like a background of whatever. And I always saw it as they're not over their ex if they're talking about their ex on the date.
Right.
So, and there are definitely red flag signs of they keep bringing them up and they seem emotional and it's recent that they just broke up and blah, blah, blah. Of like, okay, they're not ready. But I think overall, that's not like a hard pressed rule. It's probably a nice to follow that you probably shouldn't. But if the conversation flows in a way that it gets brought up at your past and you're just down that path of the conversation, then it went there. But it's not, doesn't mean, oh, he broke that rule and we talked about this on the first date and da 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 da,
That's so true. Like, and that's going to be a part of a lot of these, is that if someone breaks this quote unquote rule, then it doesn't automatically mean that it's a red flag or it's bad, because talking about your ex can be something that's useful. Like, why did your last relationship end? Well, then it's good for a partner to, a potential first date, to know why your relationship ended and why, which means talking about your ex to a degree, because you're talking about why you're no longer with that person. And so, like, I don't anymore when I go on dates, because I was married so long, and that was a decade ago now, so it's not quite as relevant. But back then it was very relevant, because it was identifying who I was at that point, and it really was telling them a lot more. And that also leads into the whole don't talk about, like, skip serious topics, which is a rule that I've seen people say. Like, first date should be all about lighthearted things and fun things. And you should skip the serious topics, but I don't think that's true. I think that you don't have to, like, immediately get into like a deep metaphysical conversation, but I think that if you can talk about the deeper things and the lighthearted things at the same time, you'll actually get also a sense of who the person is. It also allows you to figure out some red flags if you get into some of those serious topics and they say some shit that makes you step back and be like, oh, I don't know if I want to have this person on a second date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see an issue with it. It really just depends on how the when it comes to things that you're talking about, it's just the flow of the conversation, and you can easily you can easily derail it and say, oh no, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Oh, like, let's focus on this, and you can make your decision on if you want to see them after based on how they handle that.
Right. Because
shifted the conversation.
I think we need to remember too that what dating is deciding if someone is worth continuing to date. Like that's the whole point of dating, is to basically, is this person someone I want to keep spending time with? And so it's all about finding out things where you're compatible and incompatible, seeing if you have chemistry or no chemistry, and then seeing if there's red flags that are going to be dangerous to you later. And so you have to kind of pick through all of those, and that's why a lot of these rules don't make sense. Now I've seen one rule that this guy posted on TikTok, and it was like, I go on, by the third date, if she won't sleep with me, then she pays for every date after that.
That is so fucked up.
And I've seen this whole third date rule that men have, where that they assume they're going to get laid by the third date automatically. And I saw another guy say something like, if she won't sleep with you after the fourth date, I think he had the fourth date, make sure you ask her for a partial refund for those first 3 dates.
That's not how that works. Then you didn't want to date, you just wanted to fuck, and that is the end of the story there.
Exactly. And it's so frustrating because, like, yeah, that's men showing right there that they view dating as transactional. I'm paying for dinner. You are going to give me sex. Like, that's how this works, which have said many times. That's not how it works. You go on a date with somebody, you don't owe them anything. And it's why more and more women are deciding to pay for themselves on dates, because they don't want to even allow, like, they don't even have the guy show that he's had any shitty expectations. Although I kind of think you shouldn't pay for yourself to see if he has expectations, because if you don't pay for yourself and the man has expectations, there's a red flag that tells you never to see him again. But if you're paying for yourself and he's like resentful, but you don't know that he's resentful about it, then his red flags might not come out. So you might be better off just letting him pay for it, and then you can be like, oh no, fuck this guy. I mean, well, don't fuck this guy. But so here's the other thing about this guy that posted this thing saying that after the third date she pays for it, is that women would be like, well, what about I just want to pay for myself on the first 3 dates? We could just split it. And he goes, I don't allow that. So he's
right, because it hurts his manhood if someone other than himself pays.
And he's forcing basically women into a situation where he can say, "You owe me," is really what it's doing.
Power dynamic.
Yeah,
exactly.
Power and control, and it's disgusting. It's terrible behavior, very toxic. So yeah, anyone that has any type of third date rule, any man who is like, I expect to get, have sex by a third date or a fourth date or whatever, that's an immediate rule, and that's that you should throw away. It's also a man that you should throw away.
I agree. So when I had actually, what I think of the third date rule is not as intense as what some men think is the third date rule. Because when I used to talk about it, I would think you give 3 dates to kind of evaluate if you really like want to keep seeing them more exclusively. So the first date was more of we had good chemistry. It was fun. We might've been drinking a little bit too much, whatever. We had fun though. Let's go to the second date. If the second date, we were able to talk a little bit more about serious things, still have fun, but still build on that connection, then I would go to the third date. And the third date would kind of be like the solidifier of, I like him, the chemistry is good, I kind of want to just focus on where we're at exclusively and try to like figure out where this thing could go. It was never from a sex fueled position. It was always from a, how is this going to develop? Because what always would end up happening was that I would go on 1 date, it would flop, or I'd go on 2 dates and it would flop. And I was just like, I couldn't get a grasp on like where we were. So I always gave it 3 dates. If it was like kind of iffy, to go, okay, 3 dates was a good indicator of how he kind of is. I'll give the first date kind of a nervousness pass if that happened, and then go from there. But that's how I looked at it. Not from a, we're going to fuck or get more physical after 3 dates, but in a, maybe we can get a little bit more exclusive, or I've determined that I really do like him, and I had that conversation, then we had that conversation of like, oh, I like you and I've had a lot of fun, and then we can move forward for more dates or more future planning. I don't know, I just feel like early on dating is, so you're dating a bunch of people at the same time, where if you've dated someone, you've been on 3 dates with that person, you've defined in a sense that I like seeing them, I like hanging out with them. Now it's like okay, what do I want to do with this? Do I just want to fuck? Do I just want to, like, that's kind of where I hit the crossroads. And that was always my quote unquote rule whenever I started dating.
I feel like that's not even really like a rule per se. Yours is more of just a threshold that after 3 dates, you would have a general expectation to know whether or not you want to really focus on that person, and that seems like that's not a. I think that seems like a reasonable metric for that. Versus the, I expect to have sex on a third date, or there are women out there who say, well, I don't have sex until 3 months, or I don't have sex until X amount of dates. And I think, and I know, I'm like, but I mean, like yours was,
Look at me.
well, right, but I also think that like setting a rule like that is also, it's not as harmful as the I expect sex on the third date, but it can be if you're like already setting up to say, well, I'm gonna like freeze somebody out from any intimacy, or I'm just on no sex until this point because it's an arbitrary point that I chose.
100%. I've learned that now, that
Yeah.
it's just, what are you doing that for? To wait to have a status of we're in a relationship or we've hit 3 months or whatever. That it's just a goalpost of why do it. You're kind of cheating yourself out of being in the moment. If you know you like them, if you know the chemistry's there, why are you letting a quote unquote rule dictate what you actually want to do? Just do it. There's no shame in it. But that took me years to get to. So
Yeah.
I don't expect people to get to that overnight, but it's, yeah.
But I definitely think it's something that people should consider, that, once again, for both people, you shouldn't have sex until both of you are comfortable with the idea of having sex. Men, you shouldn't try to push a woman or coerce a woman in having sex because you think that you've dated her enough and put in enough money and time and effort to have sex with her, because that's not how that works. And then women, you shouldn't be like, I don't want to have sex because it hasn't met this random calendar date yet. Both of those are just not healthy. It should be something where you work on it, and when you're both ready and you both feel comfortable, then you bang it out.
Yeah. I understand why, like I said, I understand why you'd want to go to a rule, because it helps you not get hurt.
True,
But
true, very true.
It definitely makes you feel like you're not going to get hurt if you're following the rules and you're holding out on sex because you're following the rules and you're judging things by whatever. But then it always goes back to, I just want to feel something. And it's good to take a risk if you think you like this person and the chemistry's good. Yes, there's always that what if of getting hurt and then being shitty. And 9 times out of 10, they probably are going to be shitty down the line unless you find a really good one and then you stick with that person. But like, just be in, I think for this specific rule, it's just be in the moment. If you feel comfortable, if you guys have discussed it, if there's consent, if you like them, if you, whatever, just, there's no rule. Just have fun, be in the moment. Whether you fuck him, I don't know, or just suck his dick or whatever, just have fun.
Right. And we could do a whole episode on whether or not sucking someone's dick is just the same as fucking them too. I feel like
I don't agree. We had Dr. Paul on, and
I talked about the intimacy and yeah. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. So let's see, what other rules have we seen?
What's the next one?
What's the next one here? There is the idea of, I've seen this where it's a lot of times it's men telling women this, like, so like men are kind of shy and they're afraid of rejection, so give them a chance to meet you in public before you really judge them based on their their chats, and their men don't like to text a lot, so just don't judge them based on that, blah blah blah. And that's a rule that I've seen like men say to women when it comes to dating men. And I think it's bullshit, because I think, first of all, if someone's showing red flags in the beginning before you meet them, don't ignore them to give them a chance in public.
Also, no offense, but a lot of women, I mean, not to discredit you, but a lot of women are getting their advice from their girlfriends, not those shitty men. So if their girlfriend's like, no, don't fucking give him a chance, like he's not texting or whatever, that's what you're going to listen to, not some fucking pickup artist. Men are listening to the pickup artists. Women are listening to their friends and other feminists, like men who support feminism.
Yeah. Women are listening to their gut a lot more too, whereas guys are trying to figure out how to trick people into having sex with them, which is just a whole other issue. But I think it's very important to listen to your gut, listen to what your friends, maybe see that you might not, and to, you don't have to give not every person deserves a chance to meet in public. If things start to feel weird, because I've seen this happen before too, where like you've probably seen it on TikTok and other places, where like someone's chats right before a date will kind of get really weird. Like they'll all of a sudden like just they'll start showing some red flags, and the woman will be like, "Oh, I'm not really. I think I'm gonna cancel." And then the guy just goes batshit insane. You're like, you just proved her point. Like she was feeling a little off about it, and as soon as he tries to cancel, you just fucking, oh, you just owe me this chance. Oh, please give me. And it's just like goes to absolutely desperate, and now it's scary. And
Yeah,
so,
you lost your fucking chance.
Yeah.
No, you don't get that opportunity. And yeah, it's more going to trusting your gut.
And so with that, and I know we talk a lot about men doing shitty things, and so let's actually turn it around a little bit and talk about something that women do that I think it can be toxic, and that's playing hard to get.
You're not gonna let me tee up any.
Oh, sorry. Here, you talk about
that
it.
was the one I was gonna do.
Okay, you
too.
go.
I was
You
like,
go ahead.
okay.
Here, you talk about it. Yeah, you're good.
Well, I think another. Fuck you.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't think about it.
That was okay.
I wanted to get it. I would like that was one I really wanted to get to. So I was like, oh, I want to talk about this. But no, you dive right into it. It's all yours.
Well, I think another rule, and this is one that women really follow, is the play hard to get rule with men, because it'll make men like them more, and they'll have to chase a little bit more and just play hard to get, and you'll get what you want. And that's manipulation to a degree as well, just to get what you want at the end of the day. And I think because it's this dynamic of women are doing it over men, that one's really looked over as not being an issue. But I do have an issue with that one, because you're just two humans. Like, don't be shitty. Whether it's men playing hard to get or women playing hard to get, that shouldn't be any part of any equation when it comes to dating.
I agree. I think that the other bigger issue too that surrounds it is the idea of consent. Is that it tells men this whole idea of no not really meaning no.
That's
like
true, yeah.
like we did that our episode about leaving women alone, and I had so many men that would be like, well, you know, sometimes women say no, but they actually like they really mean like
Your body language says
please keep
yes.
asking, yeah. And so, which is why we've kind of tried to change it into, unless someone gives you an enthusiastic yes, unless it's a fuck yes, then it's a fuck no. So any shades of gray means it's a no, because of that, because of this whole playing hard to get, which it comes from like movies and stuff like that, where like, you know, you got fucking Indiana Jones, you know, has the woman who like hates
But it's
him.
90s movies. I really think
Yeah, oh, yeah.
90s movies perpetuated
And
this
earlier
whole...
too, yeah.
Well, okay, I wasn't born before the 90s, but
they're all 90s movies to you, because they're like, because the Indiana Jones movies are from the 80s, by the way, and 70s, but so yeah,
well,
yeah,
my
yeah.
life. Yeah, I guess I just assumed everything before. Oh, that was like the late 90s, early 90s. But no, like a lot of the movies that I saw of just men wanting to date women, that was just the narrative that was shown on screen of, oh, well, she's playing hard to get, and then she, you know, he convinces her, and now they're madly in love. And I think that's really stuck with a large generation of women, thinking that that's a good thing to do, a rule
Right.
to follow.
Well, how many scenes have we seen where like a woman is arguing with a man, and he was like, "Well, you just shut up," and he like forces himself on her and kisses her, and she responds positively. You know, like
That's so true.
yeah,
Yeah.
that happens so much in the like doesn't happen as much now, but it does. You're right, from kind of the '90s and earlier, that was a thing, and it was a bad thing, and it did teach people like playing hard to get, and you know, like women want the bad boy, they want someone who's not going to take no for an answer, and so this whole idea of consent. So absolutely, playing hard to get is a terrible rule to follow. It's toxic behavior. I actually consider it to be toxic behavior for women to do this, because you are encouraging rape culture. You are absolutely participating positively in rape culture by encouraging rape culture, and so it needs to stop. And then the men sometimes be like, well, what if she is playing hard to get, and so I walk away because she doesn't give me a like an enthusiastic yes, and I'm like, then it's her loss. Like if you respect her boundaries and you walk away, and she's like, oh, I was just playing hard to get, well, then maybe she'll learn to be honest next time. And she'll learn not to try to be manipulative. And so that's her loss. She can reach out to you later on and say, hey, listen, I actually am interested. You know, I'm sorry about, you know, like whatever. But you still need to respect consent. And I can't stress that strongly enough, that that's very important.
And I've definitely been the one to play hard to get, to just treat these men like they ain't shit. Literally, that was just my motto of like, oh, fuck, I'm not going to respond to his text. Or, I'm just going to just kind of belittle him and just fuck with him because it's fun. And even though I liked him, I was just like, I don't really care, whatever. But it was still under this playing hard to get mentality. And it was like, honestly, looking back at it now, it was really fucking rude for me to do. And I should have just been open about liking this person and wanting to go out with them, instead of trying to play these games to manipulate text messages to try to make it seem a certain way, or that I was this cool girl attitude. Like, fuck being the cool girl who doesn't care or trying to play this game. Just be yourself.
Absolutely. If you can just be honest. And the advice for men is kind of like, once you get her number, here's all the things to do to emotionally manipulate her, like negging, like to neg her, which is, if we've talked about it before, but it's basically when you give a compliment that's also an insult at the same time, which makes her want to like get your approval. So you're like, oh, that shirt really looks good, like even for your, like how your arms look or something like that, like something that just like is got this little, putting someone down at the same time, shit like that. Negging them and not like messaging at, don't text her too soon, don't text her too quickly, things like that, because you want her to feel the mystery. When it's just like, it's all these manipulation techniques to that they're not trying to get to know somebody, they're just trying to get laid, and they're all terrible rules.
No, yeah, I mean, what's the point of playing these games? If you are interested in someone, why would you play games to date them? What does that show about your character?
Right. And
that you're not trustworthy, and really no one should want to date you, period, if you're playing those games, because you're not in a mental space where you're mature enough to actually handle a relationship or whatever you're looking for.
And that goes back to an episode that I think everybody should go re-listen to if you haven't already, called "Do Men Even Like Women?" That I feel like good plug.
No, but we've hit
like we went through that, and
things,
and I think that's a lot of this is like, is this about men even liking women? If you actually like somebody, why wouldn't you just want to be your honest self with them? Why wouldn't you want to be somebody that shows who you are and let them like you for you? Unless you're just a giant stimmy piece of shit, in which case you have to hide it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, another rule. Let's do another shit. Well, you already talked about the man always paying for dates, and that being something where women also want that. Like, the man has to pay because it shows his manhood, but then the woman won't date a guy unless he pays, which is also toxic as well, because he has to take me out, and I want a guy who makes X amount of money, and I'm just looking for this materialistic thing. Which, like, you could want someone in a certain tax bracket or whatever, but you shouldn't disqualify or like discredit them as a person because they didn't pay for a date.
We had actually a discussion in the group about this recently, and it's funny for something that I thought was kind of a simple topic. It is actually a complicated topic that is very controversial because, like you said, like, men want to pay, but then at the same time the men want to pay, because they feel like that they're providing, they feel like they're owed something. So then a lot of women want to pay their half because they don't want to ever feel like they owe a man anything at all. And then, but with that, there's a whole subset of those women that say that if they go on a date and the man agrees to let them split it, or if they do split it on the first date, that they won't go out with that man again. So it's a bunch of, and I consider that to be kind of, I don't know if that's internalized misogyny. I don't know. I really don't actually understand. I really have to kind of figure out what I don't know what the best answer is about the paying for the date thing, because if you're respecting a woman who says, I want to pay my half, and then she won't go out with you again if she pays her half, then that's kind of a fucked up situation.
But she said she's fine with paying it, but then you let her, and then she's pissed about it. Then you didn't fucking, then it's an immaturity thing, because this is a big conversation in my early 20s that was being had because I didn't have a lot of fucking money. So and this is shitty, right? I'm a garbage human being. I was banking on the man to pay because I didn't have the money to pay for both of us. That
sure.
if the date wasn't going well, I always had the back of I can at least pay my own, but I never felt confident enough, at least in my tax bracket that I was in, that I could cover both of us at least on the first date and continuously be the one paying for first dates, that I kind of banked on, okay, well, we'll go out for drinks or whatever. I'm sure he's probably going to pay. And that was just kind of the assumption. And when it didn't go that way, I was like, okay, that was my sign. And it's stupid, but it was my sign of, if he wanted to split it and we didn't and I didn't say, hey, I'm cool with splitting. My assumption was he didn't like me and the date went poorly. So I'm just going to take my loss, pay my half, and go home. And that was like the correlation of, if a date was good, he paid. If it wasn't good, I paid for my half, which is super fucked up and not even the fucking case.
Right.
But it's like a rule that's not a rule, but people still, they live by. What's the better word I'm looking for there? They really.
It's like a mantra, maybe. Is that what you mean?
I don't know. Yeah.
But It's something that we definitely like, and we've even done a whole episode on it, I think. And I feel like, and that was a couple of years
Oh
ago.
my God, yeah.
I feel like it might be worth revisiting at some point because it is a complicated thing. There's a lot of things, but I think maybe the best way to approach it would be number one, the person who asks the person out should, like, this isn't a rule, but
100%,
maybe a
yeah.
series of little steps. The person who asks the person out should be the person to expect to pay for it. Number two, don't go on fucking expensive first dates. Go, like, you should go out for a couple drinks. If it could, it shouldn't be something that breaks the bank for anybody because you're just trying to meet the other person.
The bill should not be more than $50,
Right.
really. Yeah.
And so that will also make it less of a big deal. And then thirdly, if you do that and it goes well and you want to go to a second location, then the other person should pick up the second location because you're all independent adults. Now, there's this whole argument too about the pink tax and what, like, women pay for, and the time women spend in getting ready and just in their clothes and everything and all that stuff.
That the man should just pay regardless because women make less sense than the dog.
Yeah. So it is a complicated situation, but I think if you limit it so that your dates aren't these big, extravagant things, then it's less of an issue as well. A date should just be a quick meetup. It should be a place to see if either of you see red flags, and neither of you should be paying through the nose for that.
Yeah, it goes back to don't be like Adam with his $100 meal. You know what I mean? Because it's like if I was in that situation and a guy asked me out to a nice fancy restaurant. All right, let's just ignore the restaurant part. Asked me out to a nice fancy restaurant. My assumption is one, he asked me out. Two, this is kind of expensive, so I'm like in my mind, it's unspoken. I'm hoping he pays for it because he asked me out and he picked this spot. And maybe it's worth having a conversation about expenses before. I know that's not sexy and that's not anything, but it's a huge part of being in a relationship with someone is to be able to talk about finances. So if they're saying, let's go to the fucking Taj Mahal for whatever, and then you're saying, oh, let's just go to Ale House. You have to meet somewhere in the middle and have that conversation of what you're comfortable paying.
Yeah.
It's not about the glitz and the glam of where we're going out on the date. It's about the person you're on the date with.
Well, and I will say that I also agree with someone who says if a man asks a woman out on a date and it plans a really ridiculously expensive date and then expects the date to pay half,
no, fuck you. No.
Yeah, you shouldn't go out with him then. You know what I mean? Like, you should know. Of course, you shouldn't go out with him again because that's not shitty. It's more if you go out with somebody and you insist on paying your half, and then you want to judge the person for being like, okay, that was fine. It doesn't mean they don't like you. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that, money is tight for a lot of people, and everyone wants to save. So it's like I said, it's very complicated. And this goes back to the fact that you shouldn't have a rule about it because it depends on the person to person interaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're really, yeah. There's no rule for that one. There's just point A, point B, point C, and we can understand the in-betweens there, but I don't think it's worth being hard pressed on certain things because it's not always going to work out that way. And you could stop seeing someone that you really liked because they didn't pay for a date or they let you split the bill, but they were nice otherwise, and you just said no to that. That was your red flag. That is a little immature.
Yeah, I think it's something. I think the reason people might do that is because they've had baggage in the past that they're associating with their new date. Basically, something that happened in the past, and they're like, "Oh, this guy's going to be like that too."
Absolutely. I mean, if you had an ex where he never paid for shit ever, and it was always on your dime, and then you go on a date with a guy, and he expects you to pay for the whole thing, you're like, "I'm not fucking doing this again. No fucking way."
Right.
Then, yeah, there's a little emotional baggage there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What's another rule? What's another shitty rule that we have here?
Should we get into ghosting a little bit?
Yeah, and this is actually a recent one that you brought up that I always thought, and we had always talked about, you shouldn't ghost. Ghosting is bad. And then we would do it occasionally and be like, fuck, we suck. We shouldn't have done that. But in terms of safety, and in terms of sometimes it is okay to ghost if things really didn't go well and you communicated that in person, like you went out with them, it didn't work out. You said like, whatever. And then you felt unsafe or whatever the situation may be, then maybe it is best to ghost.
Right. I think this is definitely going to be something that people say is a double standard, but men, you should never ghost. Okay. If you go out with someone and you don't see it going any further, you send her a text at the very minimum, and then you can block her or whatever, but that's it. But if women feel unsafe, they feel like, oh, this, like, we've heard horror stories of women going on a first date with somebody, and like they turn into like some type of really creepy stalker, or something, like immediately, like, and they don't feel safe even on their first date. Then you don't owe that person a fucking thing. And whatever you need to do to be safe is okay. If that includes ghosting them and blocking them on everything immediately, that's fine. You don't owe them. They don't deserve your respect in saying, "Hey, I'm not interested in a second date," because they've shown themselves to be pieces of shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the only thing I would say when it comes to ghosting is don't be don't be like that guy that I met in Colombia and ghost because you want to prove a point. That's not going to make you a better person.
Oh yeah.
Ghosting to prove a point of like, oh fuck them, I'm not going to talk to them anymore. That shows your character, right?
Well, and he was even worse. I don't even know if there's a word for what he did, because he even had her go out. Like,
I know.
he created a fake date specifically to fuck with her. Like, that's even like a level beyond ghosting. I don't know what that's called. There's probably a word for
and
that.
then he goes, he did that and then ghosted her
Yeah,
on
he
top
did
of
that
it,
with
yeah.
the intention of ghosting her. Like, so he knew he was going to ghost her from the beginning, and still had her show up at a place that when he wasn't even in the country. He's just a piece of shit, basically,
Well,
more than, and beyond all.
I mean,
everything
beyond
else.
that, but like there are people out there who will say things on the date. They'll text, "Oh, this was great, whatever. I really like you, whatever," and then they'll ghost, and they'll do it with the intention of just basically negging and making them feel superior because they're them, I guess.
Because it's all about the ego, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, it all boils down to the two different views of dating, that women or that men are afraid of being rejected. That's their biggest fear, and women are afraid of being murdered. And so when you look at it through those lenses, you see why men act the way they do, why they're so protective of their egos, and they get so shitty about being rejected and all this stuff. And then you also see why women will act very differently, because their fears are much more realized and legitimate. Sorry, getting rejected is not a real fucking fear. And anybody who's scared of being rejected needs to grow the fuck up. It's emotionally immature and unintelligent bullshit. And I think that men who feel this way are just children, and really need to like go out and start getting rejected as much as possible to see that it doesn't matter. Like when you're in the sales
Part
field,
of life. It's
well,
just
yeah,
life.
like it's like sales. Like when you're in sales, like you're going to get 1,000 no's before you get a yes, and you get used to that. It's just part of the process. And thinking that you deserve yeses all the time is just pure entitlement bullshit.
And you could feel like you're a great person. And I mean, we all think we're all wonderful in our own way. That doesn't mean you're going to vibe with that other person, and they're going to see that. And that's okay.
I mean, that's true. The whole concept that seems so alien to so many men is mutual attraction. Like, like I'm attracted to you, so that's all that matters. The fact that you don't find me attractive, well, fuck you. Like they just don't,
Well,
they don't get it.
Surprise, women don't need men to get bank accounts anymore or to just live their lives. So they're like, no, I have options. Thank you very much. It's not the 1950s anymore.
Exactly.
Now, how do you feel about double texting?
That's one of those little rules that people say that, like, it feels needy if you double text, double messaging, and I think it's one of those that it's okay to do if it's something that's valuable to say, or if you text somebody, like I've had it happen where I texted somebody and like it was either late at night, or it was like I knew that they were at work and I didn't hear from them for like 24 hours, and I might send another text and be like, hey, just wanted to follow up, and just because it could be that they got busy. And I know there will be people out there like, well, if they really wanted to talk to you, they would message you. No, some people are,
That's ego. If you're
yeah.
saying that, that's ego. Just FYI.
Some people are bad about that. I mean, there are times I've gotten messages and like I'm like, oh yeah, I want to make sure I respond to that person, but not right now because I saw their message at 3 a.m. or something. I'm like, I don't want to reply right now. I'll reply tomorrow. And then by the time I get up and I do stuff, and I'm like, oh shit, I completely forgot. Not because I didn't want to talk to them, because I definitely did. I just, it was like it slipped my mind. And so it's okay to double message in those cases. It's okay to follow up. It's okay to send a second message if it makes sense to send it. Don't inundate people with messages. I would say that's not okay.
Yeah, don't send 3 long texts that are all paragraphs back to back to back when you are having a light conversation, and then all of a sudden you send whatever. It's one thing when you're going back to back and then that part of the conversation dies and you send your answer and then you send a follow-up question or whatever. That's just fucking normal conversation.
Do you have any friends that do their texting is like every 3 words at a time? Like they can't.
I don't have friends like that. Thank
Oh,
God. I
God.
don't.
like I have friends that do that, and I love them to death, but it drives me fucking nuts. And I'll just be like beep 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 beep, and it'll be like 15 texts to get one coherent thought, and like it drives me crazy. And I think it's just like just take your fucking time and just write the fucking text in like one like just take a breath and write your text and then hit send.
It's
Like
one thing if it's a conversation though, and you're responding and you say LOL, and then you send something else, and then you have another. If it's like a couple, not 3 words, but I'm saying
it's
like a couple
it's like
different
hey
thoughts.
you, oh, I saw you're in Florida. Oh, I'd really love to see you. Hey,
Oh no, that should all be.
I'm gonna
Hey,
be available. Blah blah. Hey, when are we gonna hang out? Let me know. All right, I'll talk to you later. Like, and it's just like, and I'm just like, oh no,
absolutely
please,
not.
oh
No
god,
way.
yeah, it just drives me crazy. So don't do that, please, because that is infuriating.
And that just says something about your personality. Could be like you said, a little bit extra.
Yeah, that could be.
A little extra for me. I mean, hey, it works for some people. That's their cup of tea. But for me, I can't deal with all of the need for you didn't respond to my 10 text messages and what happened there and da 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 and 5 more messages get sent. You're like, fuck me.
Yeah. Then I just put my phone down and walk away from it and just be like, all right, I don't know when this conversation is going to be over, but I am not going to come back to it for a little while. I think the only like I think the last rule that I really wanted to that was worth talking about is this whole thing that I also see dating coaches for men say, and it's like women love a man in control, so you plan everything, make sure you're assertive and dominant because that's masculine behavior and blah 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 and yeah.
If that's your personality and you like to plan and you have the energy to want to, go above and beyond for a date and wow them, sure, if you want. But
Right.
it's not the expectation that the man has to do that. Because there's been times that, yes, sometimes it's nice when someone else plans something, but then there's been other times of, oh, I've really been wanting to go here, and I think it'd be nice if we did this instead. Does it hurt his ego if I say, I want to go to this restaurant and then let's do this after, and I plan the date? Like
Well,
there has to be compromise.
It shouldn't. And then, well, that's the thing. I think that there's not just compromise, but the both of you are going somewhere. So asking someone's opinion is smart. Like if it's a certain bar and you're like, hey, have you been here before? And they're like, oh yeah, I hate that bartender, or I've had a bad experience there. Or if you are going to grab something to eat and like maybe they're vegan or vegetarian, or like, there might be something that you have to consider. So just being like, all right, let's meet at this place at 1 p.m. on on Saturday. I will see you there. Like whatever. Like it just like that's not
It's
you
a
being
one-sided
assertive.
relationship, and that's what you're going to get when you actually meet up with them and you have a conversation. It's going to be all about them and not about you, and then they'll think the date went well.
And that's just I think it's just you being a controlling dick basically. And so like there is a level of assertiveness that everybody likes assertiveness, but like if someone says, hey, I would like to take you out, if you're going to ask somebody out, first of all, this is my advice. If you ask someone out, say, I'd like to take you out, I'm available Friday night or Saturday night, would you like to maybe hit up this place or this place? Give a couple options. What would work for you? You're being assertive because you are setting, here's a group of things. You tell me what you're interested in. And then if they say, oh, I don't care, then you say, okay, great. How about Friday night at 8 p.m.? Like then
Exactly,
like, yeah. And then I would say, and this is something that I think that for women, if a man is, sets this date for something, a good way to test for a red flag, and we've said this before, is to change something and say, oh, 10 doesn't work for me. Can we do 9:30 instead? And see if they're okay with that, or if they throw a shit fit. If they throw some type of little temper tantrum, then that's a red flag and just cancel immediately.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about that. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on that side of
Yeah, I guess you haven't had to do that yet.
But the options for things is what's really important. If you're wanting to set a date, just be a human. You wouldn't tell your friend, well, unless your friend is really just like type B and just doesn't care about anything and they barely get out of bed. You know what I mean? Of like, we're going here and we're doing this on Saturday. Your friend might go, but not a stranger that you haven't met in person yet. You can't just
Right.
boss around a stranger and say, you're going to like me and we're going to go on this date at this time at this place.
It's just this stupid idea of this rule of that you have to be assertive because women like that. Women like men in control, and they just don't understand what being assertive is. They think it means being a controlling asshole, not having a plan. It's okay. It's always good to have a plan. And people do appreciate someone with a plan. But when you're an asshole with a plan, then you're just an asshole.
You know what women like? Women like men who are in tune with their feelings and can understand and listen to the other person.
Women like men who have masturbated in all 50 states across the United States.
Do women like that?
I don't know. I don't know either.
Why do you have to circle back to that after all this fucking time?
Well, because it seemed like a good way to start to wrap up the episode.
Let's just wrap it and not tap it. Okay. So takeaways, like we mentioned before, there are no rules. There are some guidelines, but take it person to person and have fun with dating. Don't be so hard pressed to follow ABC of all these rules.
Right. Be more inclined in listening to your gut and paying attention to the person in front of you than listening to a set of rules. Except when it comes to red flags. That's the one place where red flags trump anything else. Like even if someone seems great but they have all these red flags, that's an immediate, full fucking stop, walk away. Mm-hmm. But most dating rules are bullshit. Dating coaches are bullshit. People who try to tell you, here's what you have to do to be happy or be in a relationship, whatever, are bullshit.
Or to be successful at dating. It really just boils down to being yourself and being open.
Yeah.
And just just being receptive to other people and just going with the flow. That's what's going to make you successful. Not that you knowing a handbook of hard pressed rules and you following them.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have any objection to some of the things we've talked about, like the paying, I'd like the paying on the day and things like that, or the farting, who knows? Then you can feel free to let us know by email.
I don't think anyone's gonna hate that one.
Probably not, but you never know. Someone might have a problem with it. You can email us at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com.
You can also have this conversation again in our Facebook group. That is facebook.com/group/DKS podcast. If you'd like to interact with us on social media, you can follow us on Instagram at Dating Kinda Sucks, Adam's TikTok at Adam Heathavitable, or my TikTok at @simplysarahg_.
And if you enjoy this podcast and you do listen to it and you appreciate it, we would love the support on our Patreon. It's only $5 a month. We have bonus episodes put up at least monthly, sometimes more
whenever
frequently.
Adam gets around
whenever I get around
to
it. And you get extra content and just random conversations, and people seem to enjoy it. And even if you don't watch them, you're still supporting us for only $5 a month, which is great for us. It helps us pay for everything that we do with the podcast. If you're listening on iTunes, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. And if you're listening on Spotify, you can also rate and review. I don't think you can write a review, but you can rate it at least, and we'd love a 5-star rating on Spotify.
And that is a free way to support us if you're not down with the Patreon motion of supporting us. So.
Just like telling your friends is another free way to support us.
That would be great. Or, if you're listening to this episode right now and you have an Instagram, if you could share this episode and tag us, that way we can share your stuff on our stories, and that kind of gets the word out too. That's also really helpful.
Yes, and our Instagram is at Dating Kinda Sucks.
Yes.
Did we dare say that?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
You just blacked out.
I just thought, I don't listen to anything you say. I'm sorry.
Oh, I know. No.
I mean, listen, I say that as soon as we finish recording, I forget everything that I say. I forget everything you say too. Like everything that just happened, it's all blank slate for me.
No, because you asked me, you're like, did you make any good points during the episode? I'm like, the fuck, weren't you there? I don't know. I know the good points you made.
I always feel bad because I'm like, looking for the marketing clips, and I'm like, I know we said things. Like, what did we say that was good? Like, do I have to actually listen to our whole fucking episode to find the good things that we said? And so I'm just I'm terrible like that. We will be back. What are you gonna say?
I was gonna say, well, Adam's gonna black out, and we'll be back with another episode next week.
Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yuck, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.